Hi, Ernie.
Hi.
We can see that the car is really small. This first one, which is a Bel Air, it's a 54 Bel Air. It's really small, and the detailing is amazing. I mean, it just looks like the original.
Just like the real car. They're approximately 11/16 the size of the real car.
11/16.
Yes.
That's a strange ratio. Why did you choose that?
Well, I wanted to build the car the right size for the wheels, and they're 12-inch tire and wheel.
So you started out from the wheels that are 12 inch,
Yes.
and then you build the car around that.
Yes, build the car according to that size.
And how do you make the details? You have a grill that has a really difficult shape.
We make a jig work for the bumpers and the grill and the headlight bezels and everything to form them over.
From what? A piece of iron?
Just a piece of iron, crude pieces, yeah, for the bumpers and everything.
And you hammer everything, or do you stamp?
Yeah. No, hammer.
You hammer everything, because you can't see the hammer marks anywhere. I mean, they're so smooth. And what about things like the windshield? I mean, how do you get a windshield? It's a curved windshield on this car.
The windshield is cut out of another car windshield.
Oh.
The center, something that fits pretty close, and then we build the car to fit the windshield.
Wow. And the other details, when we get in the car, you know, everything is smaller. You have the handle, for example. Does this look like the
handles
original?
are all homemade from scratch.
From scratch. Mirrors?
And the mirrors
Small
are
mirrors.
homemade, except the mirror itself. The bracket is homemade.
And what about the inside of the car? I mean,
The inside is just like the real car, but it's all homemade, smaller than the original.
I remember the dashboard of the original Chevy Bel Air. I drove a car like this.
Yeah.
It is just like the original, only much smaller.
The steering wheel and everything is just like the real car.
And how big are these? How long are these?
11/16 the size of the real
11/16,
car.
so you can just
80-inch
calculate.
wheelbase.
Wow, wow. And the body construction, how do you start off? You want to make this car look like the original, right?
We make like a 3/16 cold roll jig work, so it looks like a wire waste basket that we form the sheet metal to.
It's like the birdcage Maserati. It's very similar to that. And then you bend all the steel work on that jig.
Bent to fit that birdcage jig work. The bumpers, we make a pipe frame to fold the bumpers over.
It's metal.
Yeah,
Everything is
and
metal.
the tail lights, that's a 49 Ford park light for the backup light, and a half of 49 Ford tail light for the tail light.
Wow. And then you have...
And then we make that out of metal.
Piece of trim around it. Do you use any drawings or pictures? How do you start off with the...
We take a picture of the real car and...
Oh, yes.
This picture is 10 inches center to center of the wheelbase, and 1/8 of an inch on that picture is 1 inch on the car.
Wow.
That picture is this particular car right here.
I see all the measurements.
Yeah.
These are your marks, right?
Yeah.
You wrote these.
Yeah, I go by and write a lot of measurements down on the picture so I don't have to go back and remeasure it every time.
Do I get it right that every single part of that car is reduced to 11/16? The handles, the detail,
the door handles,
lights,
all the chrome strips, everything is right to size. Tail light, bezels, bumpers, everything.
How much time?
The steering wheel.
How much time do you
dash.
spend making a car like this?
It takes 3,000 hours actually building the car, but that's over a period, in this case, was 3 years.
Wow. And do you make your own frame? Because you make your own body on the jig, but do you make your own frame,
Yeah, the frame,
suspension,
everything
whatever?
is homemade. We take a Toyota donor car for the motor, transmission, rear end. I take 13 inches in width out of the rear end. And I cut the McPherson strut off of the front spindles on the Toyota and use just the spindles on my homemade axle, so it's just like the original car.
So you have the Toyota suspension and you put your own...
I cut the springs down and recoil them for the rear springs off the
because
Toyota.
you get to lower the car. How did you get the idea of making cars like this? I mean, it is, you know, there are 250 million people in the United States, and then there's one museum like this.
It goes way back. I was 15 years old when I saw an old refrigerator sitting in the weeds, and it had the top towards me. It didn't have a door on it, and it had a tire swing laying by it. So what I saw was a miniature touring car.
Oh, you saw a refrigerator and some wheels, and that
and the
came
top
together.
of that refrigerator was the same shape as the back of an old car to me.
And it is.
Yeah.
In fact, it is, because they had these rounded refrigerators.
Rounded corners and a slight oval in the back, you know.
So you bought the refrigerator and made the car?
Yeah, well, I didn't have to buy them. I see them sitting on the back porch, and I'd stop and talk to them. People say, yeah, I'd like to get rid of that thing, you know. So I built the first car out of 9 refrigerators to make the fenders and everything.
Wow.
Only the first car, though.
At 15? At the age of 15?
No, that stayed in my mind till I was 25. 10 years I thought about building that car. Then I finally built it when I was 25.
Did that already work? Did it have an engine, or was it just a car-shaped thing?
No, it had a motor in it. It's still back here in the back. It's got a 2-cylinder Onan in there with a 3-speed transmission, and I used a Jimmy Astro steering shaft for U-joints for the drive shaft.
What kind of engine did you use?
Onan. It's out of a 3-wheeled mail cart.
Oh, well,
like they used to deliver mail in the city, you know.
Power?
Yeah.
What power did it have?
13 horsepower.
13 horsepower, that's...
Yeah, I don't run 35 miles an hour.
What was the year? Where can we put this whole thing?
The first car I built in 1965 was built out of refrigerators. Originally, it was just a refrigerator laying down, and I used the natural bend of the refrigerator here, the top, right and left side of the top.
This is the fridge here.
And this is the part that went against the wall. I cut the middle out and brought it together. And I cut these with a hammer and chisel. All I had was a
hammer and chisel. So
I had just bought an old Sears Buzzbox welder. So I cut the refrigerator here and folded it down 1/4 inch and fused it with an arc welder. And the same here to get the slope on it.
Yeah, because you need the special slope.
Yeah.
That's how all these in front of the firewall.
So it's a little bit crude, but it all worked out in the long run.
What did it want to be exactly? A Ford A model? No, you have these.
It looks more like an old Chevy.
Chevy. Wow.
Because of the square on the radiator, you know.
And this is the car with the 13 horsepower engine?
Yes, has 13 horsepower.
And
it's just a 2-cylinder, but it's got a 3-speed transmission.
Can I just look inside there? Oh, you can't really see the engine. It's a horizontally opposed engine. So one cylinder here, the other one the other direction.
They're opposed.
Wow. Boxermotorja van. Gee. So you made this car, and you leaned back and you said, "Hey, I want another one." How did this start rolling?
Well, from this car, I created the Dwarf race cars.
Oh yes.
And I did that for 10 years, and I made a homemade bead roller to put the print in the race cars. Then I decided I could print this 39 Chevy, a double hump down that body, and make a street legal car.
The problem is the race cars aren't here. Those had different engines. They weren't...
No, they were all motorcycles. There's one sitting back here.
We'll see that later. Let's finish off this room, because I'm staggered how cool these cars are. I mean, there's this one. I mean,
that one's made out of everything from soup to nuts. The firewall was made, and the gas tank was made out of an old house refrigeration casing. The radiator shell was built out of a Volkswagen door skin, and the fenders was made from sides of an old refrigerator, and the floorboard, the running board was made out of a 4-foot fluorescent light.
When was this made?
And it, oh God, I don't.
Is it old? Because the rust seems very honest
it
on it.
It would be somewhere around 99 or 98, somewhere in there.
So this is already almost 30 years old.
And that old wood cook stove in the back, or the wood burning stove, that's all functional.
In the car?
Yeah, yeah.
It's got proper heating.
Huh?
It's got proper heating.
Yeah.
There's no problem with that. And does it drive? It has an engine.
Yes,
it's
it
an
runs.
alternator.
Yeah, this is a good car for parades.
It looks so incredibly cool. How do you make a grill like this? Please tell me. I mean, how do you start off with this part?
I make a jig to make them with, you know.
And the bars one by one?
One by one.
It's aluminum, right?
No,
it's steel.
That's metal.
So you always
gauge.
use steel if possible.
Yeah, yeah, I use steel all the time.
You have the Dagmars.
Yeah, every bend on that is just like the original car.
How do you shape something like this? It's very complicated. Three-dimensional.
I've just made a jig to make them with. If you watch that movie, it'll show the jig I made to make everything with.
I just can't fathom the work you put into these cars. And the inside, I mean, they just look so correct. So,
yeah, it's just like the real car in there.
Look at the instruments, the searchlight.
I made the knobs so they're just like the original, and the original emergency brake handle looks like the original.
You made the knobs.
Yeah.
Can't put it together.
And the steering wheel. It's even got the Mercury emblem on the horn button.
In a reduced size.
Huh?
You made that. It's a reduced size, right?
No, I found that on a refrigerator.
A Mercury.
Yeah.
You're also very big in refrigerators. I'm starting to feel that, but it's so beautiful. I just like the way I just try to close the door and the way the door closes.
Let it right here.
And that closes the same way, that closes the same way. All of them close properly. These are proper cars. They have frames, right? They're put on frames, and then you beat the panels on the jig.
Open the door here, and the frame is right underneath the door. That's the frame rail right there.
Yes, that one.
Yeah.
And then you put your feet below that because you have the floorboard way below the whole thing.
Yeah, because see, the seat's so low down because the top is low, so you the frame is 4 inches tall, and I put the floorboard down so your feet's below your butt when you're sitting in the seat.
And these have proper stuff in them. I mean, these doors are heavy.
Yeah, it's got the
very real
roll-up windows and everything, just like a real car.
You just said one of the we were standing by one of the other cars, and you just said that it's got air conditioning in it and electric windows and things like that. I mean,
yeah, that red Mercury does have air conditioning.
It's incredible.
Electric quarter windows.
And you have all these pictures of the whole museum is put together so well. I mean, if you come here, you can spend days here if you just
Well, I just build the cars. The kids arrange things like they want to.
Oh, but it looks good.
This is the very first Dwarf race car ever built. It's got a hopped up 350 Honda motorcycle engine in it, and it was chain drive. Then we evolved into this. This is what the race cars were later.
This is where I really stopped and stared for very long.
That's got a CVX. 6-cylinder Honda motor in it.
It's 1,000 or 1,100?
1250 something, 1248 I think they were.
Oh, so it's bored out.
The rear end is Toyota. We moved the pig over to one side, run the drive shaft right up, and bolt to the sprocket on the motorcycle engine.
So it's asymmetrical.
Yeah.
You have the diff on this side.
Yeah.
And it balances out the weight of the driver, right? Because he's sitting a bit to the left.
Probably does. I never, that wasn't considered when we did it that way.
But this must be really quick. It drives, right?
Yeah.
It has to be really quick. That's something like a 130 horsepower motor.
Yeah, I don't know what the horsepower is.
Oh, originally.
But it never got on the track. It was built off my race car jig work, you know, with all the bead roll and everything.
First, you just made one with a motorcycle engine, right? And then you had a friend.
Yeah.
And you started.
My neighbor said, if you build one, I'll build one. So we built him a second one right away. I don't know, there's pictures on the wall over there. See all the Dwarf race cars there?
Yeah. I remember the idea came from somewhere that you went to this motorcycle race, the sidecar race.
Yeah, I went to a side hack race, and they weren't fast enough in the corners because of the side hack. So I said, let's put 4 wheels on there and slide them corners, you know.
And these are.
So that's where the idea come from.
Like transitions between cars and motorcycles, because they got motorcycle drive lines, and then they have car bodies.
Yeah.
And the series started in 1982. Am I right?
79.
79.
Yeah, this 79. 79.
And then it just grew, right? And it's still running.
Everybody wanted them. I only had 15 feet in my backyard in the trailer park, and I started building these things, and there was so many people wanting them, and the other guy started helping me, and then another guy started helping me, and we were still behind with 3 of us, and they said, man, we got to get out of the backyard and open up a shop. So we opened up a shop. I had at that time jig work for 19 different body styles, and so we opened up a shop in Tempe, and I did that for 10 years before I built the first street legal car.
So this turned into a race series, right? And something else grew out of it, because it's still being run today.
The legend cars.
The legend cars.
Yeah, Humpy Wheeler, the president of Charlotte Motor Speedway, was running these Dwarf cars on that track. But being they were a takeoff of the old body styles, 28 to 48 was what they were supposed to be. And he dubbed them as legend cars. Then him and a guy named Elliot Forbes Robinson decided to have somebody build a fiberglass body to put over top of these, because they said something about they didn't want to run open wheel cars. So they put a fiberglass body right over top of these and kept calling them legend cars.
And they're still running that?
Yeah, they still run the legend cars today.
as you can see, with lots of will, passion, talent, you can make your own tools to form steel, form stainless steel, make car bodies, make car frames, make ornaments, everything. And you know, you usually think that if somebody does that, he has some kind of gleaming workshop where there are professional tools, beta and all.
Yeah, and you got professional people doing that, using more than one person. I do it all myself.
Here.
And I lived in a trailer park when I started these, so that's all the shed I had. It was 9 by 10, I took the doors off, put them on the back to make it 13 feet long, and put doors in the front so I could get a little car in there.
So this is where all the cars were built.
Yeah.
It's smaller than my garage, much smaller than my garage. And let's see the shed, because the shed is the place. This shed was moved here. This is the actual shed that Ernie started building his cars in, and it was moved here because he bought these premises later.
This is an older welder that I used.
These are electric.
Lincoln. Yeah, Lincoln electric welder.
And that's even older. That you said it was from.
Yeah, that comes from. Well, when they updated the welders in Nebraska Rail Car Company, they updated the welders and they give us the old welders.
So you just got it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Free of charge.
A lot of metal. You could get money.
It works.
Metal. It works.
Works good.
So this is where it all started. And now I think, Ernie, how many cars have you built altogether? What do we know?
Oh, hundreds of the race cars.
Hundreds of the race cars. And how many of the show cars?
Only what's in there.
Only what's in there.
I never sold any street legal cars at all, no. That's the graveyard out there for all my animals, and I got my gravestone in there also for preparing for my death.
So you want to rest here?
Huh?
You want to rest here?
Yeah, I and the wife both, our gravestones out there.
Tens of years later, let's.
Huh?
Tens of years later.
No, 2 years later for me.
2?
2 years. 2027 is when I'm gonna kick the bucket.
Why? How do you know?
I don't know, I just know that.
You feel it?
Yeah, before August I'll be 87, after August I'll be 88.
Oh.
But 2027 is when it's gonna be. My wife wouldn't let me put the date on there, only the birth date.
Wise idea. I agree with your wife. Sorry to say.
That's my garden there. Nothing grows in it, so I don't have to water it.
Yeah, best garden ever. So this is your last car, right?
Yeah, that's the last one I'll be able to build. I'm too old to do it anymore.
You will be, but it's finished, isn't it?
It's finished.
It's finished. It's called Diana. Who's Diana?
Diana is a pretty little gal back in Nebraska.
You knew her?
I know her very well.
Is she happy that her name is on a car that you built?
Yeah, she was out here and visited a couple of months ago.
Mm.
Nice, very nice lady. I knew her husband very well.
Oh.
And he gave me a lot of things. He used to sell swap meats, and he gave me a lot of things about the time he passed away. Like these signs here.
Oh yeah.
Burlington sign, North Burlington, South Burlington. That was the main drag in Hastings, Nebraska. And when they changed to the later model signs, he got those to sell at the swap meet, but he gave them to me.
What about the car? What is it?
That's a 41 Chevy.
Powered by?
Powered by Toyota.
Toyota.
It's got a 1770cc Toyota motor in it with a 3-speed automatic and overdrive.
So that's not a Corolla engine from 74 like the others.
It's a Corolla engine from 82.
So it's a later model drivetrain in it. Does it have extras like, I can see that the detailing is, again, I mean.
Yeah, I have to make all this chrome strips, so they got the same amount of ribs as the real car does.
So the real one has 4 ribs here, right?
Yeah.
Just like this one.
Yeah.
And the door handle, I mean, it is.
Yeah, it's just like that.
Wow. Wow, you made this yourself, right?
Yeah,
it's
I
steel
gotta make
again.
everything, yeah.
It's all steel.
But when I made this car, I was getting too old to do it right. The doors don't shut as good as they do on the other ones.
How much time did it take you to make this last one?
Well, 4.5 years went by, start to finish on this car.
Well, Ernie, I'd just like to thank you for showing us around.